Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. It's a beautiful Wednesday afternoon here in Austin, Texas. We are in shelter in place, making the most of it. I hope that you are well, and I hope that you are staying safe. Today, I want to talk to you about frustration. Now, for an unfaithful spouse, frustration is a very common scenario, but for a betrayed spouse, it's also very prevalent within the repair process. Now, today, I'm going to talk mostly about the frustration that an unfaithful spouse feels. However, there's going to be principles, there's going to be truths that overlap for both the betrayed and the unfaithful. So don't think this is just for the unfaithful. There's a lot of great truth here for you as well as a betrayed spouse as it relates to frustration. Now, I assure you, if you're going to try and save your relationship post-infidelity or addiction, there will be large amounts of frustration. Sometimes it will be so intense it'll push you to the end of yourself. Sometimes it just irks you. Sometimes it's so compelling that you feel this anger, this rage, this wanting to lash out because you're frustrated. Many times we get frustrated because we're not getting the outcome that we want. I think in many ways frustration comes from pride. We think we know what should be happening. We think we know what our spouse or significant other should be focusing on. If they would just do this, we would be good. And so frustration resonates in many ways, as we're talking about infidelity, out of a desire that comes from pride because we think, and we kind of play God, you know what, if you just do this, or if they would just do this, everything would work just fine. The problem is that's not how life works. I have said this before, I'll say it a million times, I'll never stop saying it. When you're dealing with infidelity, it requires a process. And if you're going to heal on any significant level, you cannot bypass that process. And so we don't love that process. In fact, we despise it sometimes because it's not moving at the speed we want, at the effectiveness that we want. Our significant other is not doing the work that we want them to do. They're not seeing what we want them so desperately to see, so we get frustrated. And we get angry and we lash out because we think we know how things should be going, especially for us unfaithful. We want things to be done on our timeline. We want our betrayed to heal quickly, efficiently, move on, be succinct. We've talked about it. Let's be done. Let's move on. Okay, you're healed. Boom. And obviously that's absurd and ridiculous and just unrealistic. But we get frustrated. And so when we get frustrated, we appear to the betrayed as unsafe. We appear as someone who can't be trusted because we simply are angry or hostile. We're rushing you, the betrayed. We're trying to move you along. We don't want to talk about it. And so we appear as this prideful, arrogant, pushy individual, male or female. We also appear to be demeaning you because we're not being empathetic. We're not being compassionate. We're not being long-suffering. We're not walking this out with you. We're just trying to make you get over it and move on. And so there appears to be a demeaning nature by us as though we're demeaning you. Another thing is it appears that we're devaluing you in the relationship because we're not willing to walk it out and be patient and go through the different stages that a couple goes through when they're trying to heal. Now, to a certain extent, the reality is when there's frustration, it kind of shrouds the good, because if there's a sense of frustration, typically there is a desire, at least in this discussion, on behalf of the unfaithful, we want to be healed. We want to move on. There's a desire there. There is a willingness there. But the problem is we are frustrated, and to you, the betrayed, we don't appear safe, although we wouldn't be frustrated about something we did not care about. So the fact that we're frustrated to a certain extent for at least half, okay, let's just call it half. Half of us really have a desire. We're wanting to heal. We're wanting to kind of move beyond this and enjoy life with you. Another half, and I'm really oversimplifying things. Another half is we're frustrated because you just won't do what we say, and you won't just get over it, and you won't just move on, and we're not in control, and we don't like to not be in control. So we're angry, we're mad, we're bitter, we're like an angry child that isn't getting their way. And so that camp is really very destructive, and so I can't say that there's a lot of good there. But I'm going to say at least 50% there's a desire to heal, a desire to come together and move forward. Now, I can hear you as an unfaithful spouse like I could hear myself that says, so Samuel, seriously, are you expecting me to go through the biggest crisis of my life as an unfaithful spouse and just be perfect? Never get frustrated, never lash out, never get angry, never get defensive. Absolutely not, because that would be calling myself a liar to say that I never did that. I did all of that and more, okay? But the fact is, what do you do when you get frustrated? It's essential that your spouse feels safe, that feels like you're compassionate and long-suffering. That's why it's absolutely ideal, my friends, to have a third party, same sex. If you're a man, it needs to be a man. If you're a woman, it needs to be a woman. And you need to have multiple, in my opinion, that you can emote with and vent to and complain to and just vomit it all out. Because your spouse is not going to be able to take that information and just be non-reactive to it. They are way too reactive, way too sensitive, way too hurt, way too traumatized for that. That's where that group comes in, or that third party comes in, and maybe it's a professional, maybe it's a group like ours on our website called Hope for Healing that is a game changer. But you have to have that outside third party that you can vent and emote to. But with your spouse, you've got to be that safe place. You've got to be able to realize that this is not your timeline. You are not in charge of their healing timeline. Here's some things that you can do, specifically if you're an unfaithful spouse, to deal with the frustration you're probably feeling. Number one is embrace the powerlessness that you really have. That sucks, I know. I'm sure you just threw something at me or cussed at me. I would too, okay? But understand that powerlessness is actually, in some semblance, a bit of a gift to us because we can't control the timeline. What we can do is control what we do. We're powerless to change them. We're powerless to move them, to hurry them. However, what we can do is worry about ourselves. What we can do is focus on our own healing and embrace the fact that, you know what? Your spouse has a choice, has rights, has the freedom to do what they want, how they want to do it. And your reaction is your responsibility, just like their reaction is their responsibility. But you're able to set yourself free from trying to control. And let me tell you, I live that way. It's exhausting, trying to control, trying to micromanage, trying to spin those plates and make everything perfect and all of that. It is so freeing to go, look, I can't make you do anything, but I can focus on me. Number two is understand that you may think that you're seeing the total picture, and you may think, man, I know what needs to happen. You don't. You're not their therapist. You might be a therapist. You probably are not their therapist. And you're operating from your own hurt, your own wounds, your own bitterness, maybe your own resentment, your own faulty reasoning. You are not omnipotent or all-knowing. And so if you continue to think that you know it all, you're going to continue to wound your spouse. And you're going to continue to push them further away, not bring them in closer to you. Number three is understand your frustration is doing more damage to them and to your situation and quite possibly, probably even yourself. That frustration is a rushing, a hurrying, a prideful approach. And it's probably, quite honestly, your pride and your idea of what you think needs to happen that got you in this big mess that you're in right now. This frustration is not your friend. This is indicative of some real unhealed, unsolidified stuff that's inside of you. And so if you want to appear less frustrated, go after the stuff that's inside of you. Go after what needs to be addressed inside of you. That will help mitigate the frustration. That'll help bring a peace to you. And then your spouse will be like, wow, they are at peace. They're not trying to rush me. They're not so defensive. They're not so frustrated all the time. There's a peace about them, which then makes your own spouse feel safe. Thanks for joining me today. I know it's a tough time. I know that we're all going through crisis all over the world. Be safe. Take care of yourself. Understand that we're all in this together. I'm happy to interact with you as best I can through any of the platforms that these videos come out. I hope that you will do the work that you need to do to bring joy in your life, joy at the healing that you are experiencing. Take care of yourself.